Okay, the last video that we did, or the last video I did, I was talking about major triads and how amazing they are, but there's also something very cool about minor triads. So I briefly want to touch on that because that will open up a whole new discussion for playing the blues. Without the minor triad, my videos would end here. This would be the last one, because the next thing on the horizon, which really starts to bring all of this stuff together into a great art form and a wonderful thing to play on, is the minor triad. So we want to talk about that today. The minor triad that we're going to need for this setting is the relative minor. So the way that you find the relative minor is you can count up 6 degrees. Now, some people say it's a minor third down, or it's this or it's that. I'm trying to stay very simple and not overload you with theory as much as making theory like a language, because that's the best way for you to start improvising, is if you have this as a language. So if you take a major scale and you count up exactly 6 degrees, counting 1 on a C scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to come to A. And then you can build a triad on that A using thirds, and you'll see that you have an A minor triad. This A minor triad, 2/3 of this chord is a C triad. So that tells you right there why and how they're related. So I can use this A minor triad as an extra note when I'm improvising on a C7. Now, a lot of times people talk about scales and target notes. I do that too, but I like using the triads because when you get these triads into your hands, you see the infrastructure as you're playing. And so you can be playing by ear and by sound, and then suddenly one of these things will just like come right out glaring at you, and you can nail that thing, and it just brings everything you're trying to do or everything you're reaching for in your solo into focus. It's really incredible. So that's why I like pointing out the triads first before we get into other things, and scales, using the chords and the voicings. So if we were just gonna do a C7, and I'm using my guide tones, and if you don't know what the guide tones are, then there's another video on this. You can figure these out, and then you want to do that for sure. Get the guide tones going. But here's my A minor. This sounds really nice. Now that's a root position A minor. So back to our good old classical. Why do we have to learn scales and triads? And your technique is yours. You need as much technique to express yourself as you need. You don't need technique that other people have. You don't need this or that to sound good. You need the technique that will help you express yourself. If you can't play like you want to and you can't express yourself like you want to, then you just need more technique. It's really simple. And you just practice. And sometimes a good old plain classical book on triads with the proper fingering will get you to higher ground, because you can apply that to the other chords. We're only talking about one key right now, but the A minor triad is where we're at for this C7. Now, if I invert this down, I'm going to put the E on the bottom. And so you'll hear I'm hitting that octave. It just gives me that accent. I like that punch. I don't play it every time, but I like playing it right now, and I want to remind you that it's there. This is just a rhythmic throw out. I like the extra rhythms and shooting rhythms out there in a smaller space. So if you can see that. what I'm doing. So, but I'm going to use a good fingering here. I'm going to have my 5th, my 4th, my 2nd, and my thumb. That's a nice vehicle. And then you could do any variation. So that's an A minor triad. Now, that's my, that was actually pretty cool. What I did there is I hit A minor, 2nd inversion, and then went to C triad. If I had had my guide tones in my left hand, that would have sounded like a jazz comping pattern. Isn't that amazing? That sounds totally different than what I just did. This is A minor, C, A minor, C. Here's my guide tones. So what I'm playing is E, B flat, E, A, C. So how do I get a good jazz voicing for a C7? I play the guide tones in my left hand and the relative minor triad in my right hand. And personally, I like this 2nd inversion guy because it really lays it out nice. It's a real thick sound. And I'm going to take that and do it on my F. So first we have to find the relative minor. F, using an F scale, the 6th degree is D minor, and we have DFA. And then our 2nd inversion would be A, D, F. And if I play that on my F guide tones, it sounds amazing. So now I've got some horn voicings type of thing going on, some great piano voicings behind your guitar guy when he's soloing, or your friend who plays violin, or if you're in a band, whatever, behind the horn player. These are really good starting voicings, and again, you'll be using these all your life because they're not just the start for beginners. This is where it's at. So you can add on to it, but you won't get rid of it because it always sounds good. So then our last one is a G, and we need to find the relative minor to G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gives us E minor, and our 2nd inversion E minor is this. So we do that over our guide tones, and then we do that over our F, and then we come down to our C. And that sounds really nice. So now if we're playing our blues, on one of my videos I talked about a passing chord because of the guide tones and the relationship of the 3rd and 7 and the 7 and 3rd from the C7 to the F sharp. So I won't go into that now, I'm just going to play that, but if you go to any of the videos on guide tones you'll find this option. And I will talk about passing tones and interchangeable relationships in depth as we go further down the road. But for now, here's a great sound. So I'm going to take this thing and go by half steps down to my F sharp or G flat from the G. Everything's going down a half step. And then I got to my F. Now I'm using the same fingering to pass through there for now because it's not fast. So now that we have all these and we have that idea, let's take a look at this here. And I'm going to use this fingering that I used before for my triads. Here's my E minor triad with 1, 3, and 5. If you want to get good at these, you just simply separate the hands. And then I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to keep doing that till I have it. You would keep doing that till you have it like I do, nice and easy. Then you can just throw it in there whenever you want. Any rhythm you want. And then back to our C. Now F, and then G, F, and C. And sometimes it's nice to just play the root. I was playing the root and jumping up. When you play the root and you jump back up, it grounds you. It gives you kind of, okay, I remember what chord I'm playing. Sometimes when you're playing lots of voicings with no root, it gets a little ambiguous and you can tend to lose your way. So a way to get grounded, okay, what am I playing again? And then you play that root and everything comes back into focus. C, A minor, C7, guide tones, quarter notes. We're playing the blues and neither of us are bummed out. See you next time.